Hello everyone, I welcome you all to new video of Last Lab series. Today we will discuss economy very quickly and we will discuss everything quickly, but we will not miss anything which is important, not even the current affairs, not even data. We will be even discussing the rankings of different products and we will go and understand all the basic concepts in depth. Without any further delay, I will start the lecture. Before that, I want to tell you just one thing. That is, once you watch the video, go to our Karm Yogi IS Telegram channel, read the notes once, and then we will be posting a practice test that is made just based on UPSC PYQs and some important questions with respect to EPFO, some PCS questions will be included in that. Practice that. These three steps will ensure that the core knowledge is intact and you will feel very, very confident. National income accounting, GDP is whatever is produced inside my nation, which is final in nature. It is not intermediate. So I will not include maida and palm oil in calculation of GDP. I will include straight away the final product, that is biscuits. And it deals with only one question, where it is produced. If it is produced inside my border of nation, it will be GDP. GNPs are altogether different. How? It is asking who is producing it. So if my Indian brothers are producing, no matter if they are producing outside India also, it will be included. It introduces a concept called as net factor income from abroad. Nothing but how much Indian people are earning from abroad and how much foreigners are earning from India. Both will be subtracted and we will get the net factor income from abroad. So when GDP may, I will add NFIA, net factor income from abroad, I will get GNP. To get net domestic product or to get the net national product, we will just subtract depreciation. Depreciation is that anything. You have machines, you have mobile, you have car, everything goes through a wear and tear. The asset depreciates. So if you will subtract the wear and tear, you will get the net. And for finding factor cost, we also subtract net indirect taxes. This is usually in the books called as national income, but India is now taking things at market cost. Okay, but in books, this is the standard. Okay, don't get confused. Now, per capita income will be when this net national product at factor cost, I will divide with my population, I will get the per capita income. Now, another very, very important concept is GDP deflator. Now, what is GDP deflator? There is one thing called as nominal GDP, another is called as real GDP. So, if I am calculating my GDP based on the prices of goods and services according to 2026, it will be nominal GDP. If I assume a constant base year, if I assume 2012 as a base year, say for example, and when I am calculating the GDP, it will be called as real GDP. Now, real GDP will negate the effect of inflation because not necessarily the production process is increasing or the production level is increasing, but the price of a commodity is increasing, it will also increase the GDP. So then it will negate the whole purpose of calculating GDP. Okay. It is not necessarily a growth. When I divide the nominal GDP to real GDP and multiply it by 100, I get the GDP deflator. Now, GDP deflator is telling us about the increase in prices, but it is more wholesome compared to your CPI or WPI. Why so? This deflator is covering all goods and services produced domestically. It doesn't have a fixed basket. That is the difference between a GDP deflator and your CPI and WPI. Another very, very important concept is capital output ratio. Already these are asked in PYQs. So after this, you don't need to read any notes, anything. Just Revise this, and PYQ logic series I have already covered from 2021 to 25, and I will be covering the other remaining portions as well before the examination. Okay, I will work around the clock for it. You don't need to read anything, notes, etc. These are PYQs. Okay, and these are comprehensively linked with the static and current affairs. So these are gold mines. Capital output ratio. It's like now if I have to open a shop, I invested 100 rupees. This is my capital invested. My sales are 500 rupees. Okay. Now the capital output ratio will be the capital invested and the output produced. Okay. Now bigger the my output, smaller the ratio of capital output will be. That means I need to invest less money to produce more. Where it will happen? It will happen in developed nation, where technology is better. They can produce more in less capital because of technology, because of know-how. So generally, in lesser developed country, the capital to output ratio is higher. The lower it is, the higher capital productivity will be there. Okay, this is what you need to know. Now let's move towards another very, very important thing, that is financial markets. Now the basic differentiation that is done in financial market is money market and capital market. Very small difference is there. Money market means anything that you are investing for less than 1 year, short term, is a tool of money market. Capital market, long term. More than 1 year if you are investing, that will be capital market. Now within this as well, we have lot of instruments. Like in money market, we have treasury bill. Already asked in one of the UPSC, not one of the, it has been asked twice. Now, treasury bill is a zero coupon kind of a bond sold at discount. Minimum investment is rupees 25,000. It is not available to any state government. It is auctioned by Reserve Bank of India. So it is done by the central government. The maturity is small. 91 days, 182 days, 364 days, all less than 1 year. We also have cash management bills, which is called as CMBs. Again, like T-bills, but it is even shorter in maturity for immediate government cash requirements. Usually the maturity is 7 days to 90 days. Then we have certificate of deposits. So it has the maturity from 7 days to 1 year. Minimum rupees 1 lakh issued to raise short-term funds by scheduled commercial banks. Okay. And some financial institutions which are permitted by RBIs. Then we have commercial papers as well. Now, these are related to corporates from few days to 270 days. These are not secured. These are again sold at discount. And only rated firm or credit worthy firms can issue this. There has to be regulation. Otherwise, anybody will be issued. And then we have another thing which is called as call money, that relates to the transaction between banks, interbank transaction. That is usually 1 day, overnight. So banks are lending or borrowing overnight. Okay. We have other things as well, like notice money. Again, it is related to interbank market. And it is from 2 days to 14 days. Then we have ways and means advances. Now, when there is a temporary liquid support given to government by the Reserve Bank of India, it can be given to either central government or state government, repaid within 90 days. Interest is linked to repo rate and amount is mutually agreed by Reserve Bank of India and Government of India. Usually, in money market, the risk will be low, the return will be also low. In life also, the lower the risk, the lower the reward. Short-term liquidity needs is suffice from this. Now, we also have capital market. We will read these in greater detail. It includes shares, bonds, debentures, GSECs or government securities. You will read all these things in a bit detail. Money market is regulated by Reserve Bank of India and capital markets is regulated by SEBI. Here the risk will be high, the return will be high. And here we are doing everything for long term. Okay. Then we also have a primary market and secondary market differentiation. When see if any company is issuing fresh IPOs, it is something which is related to primary market. Okay. And a secondary market is when somebody is selling and somebody is buying. It's not a new issue. Then it is called a secondary market. Okay, company is not involved there. So this is what you need to know. Then we have National Stock Exchange and Bombay Stock Exchange. Bombay Stock Exchange is oldest stock exchange in the entire Asia. Benchmark index in NSE is Nifty 50. And here you have SNAP, BSE Sensex. Listed company in NSE are 1800 plus. BSE has 5500 plus, but here you will have more small caps as well. That's why global rank in terms of market cap is higher of NSE, third, and BSE is at 7th. Because here the trading volume is very, very high. In BSE, it is lower comparatively. Now, since inception, electronic demat account, you must have a dematerialized account, is used. It evolved slowly since it was the oldest. You must have heard about scams also. Ketan Parekh, Harshad Mehta. Because of these scams, demat and other regulations came. Insider trading, etc. How to regulate it. Now let's come to money market operations. I have already discussed about treasury bills, cash management, certificate of deposit, commercial paper, notice money, ways and means advance, everything. So we will study the measure of money supply. You must have heard about M0, M1, M2, M3. Now this is called as a high powered money or base money, where whatever currency is in circulation plus deposits of bank with the Reserve Bank of India is only included in M0 and it is called as high powered money or base money. M1 will be currency in circulation plus demand deposits with commercial bank. Demand deposits is DDs. It is narrow. M2 will be M1, whatever is included here, plus demand deposits of post office saving banks. You must have seen in post office, a lot of saving schemes are there. So demand DDs of post office saving banks. When we will include that, we will get M2. M3 will have M1 plus time deposit with commercial banks. Okay. Demand deposits and time deposit. You must have heard terms like FDs, RDs. We have no maturity time. We do FD for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. There is a tenure. Now we say that FD matured, and then we also have options that will we reinvest whatever has come, the interest will be reinvested, or you want to take it in a recurring manner. So M3 will be broad money, which is most used measure. Now M4 will include whatever there is there in M3 plus all deposits of post office saving bank, including the time deposits. Here we had not included all deposit. Now it will be the broadest money. Now another terms which are there is a velocity of money. Velocity is how quickly money is circulating. Money will get circulated more and more when people are investing, when people are doing expenditure, when the government is injecting money, when there is expansionary fiscal policy, and it will fall when government will try to squeeze money from the market. So velocity of money is directly proportional to the amount of money which is there in the market. Yield to maturity is whatever, like FD you have done for 5 years, what yield, what total return you will get after 5 years is called as yield of maturity. Now we have capital market instruments. This is something which will require a lot of attention because it is not very, very easy. to understand. Okay. So let's understand it slowly. Now we have first differentiation is between the types of shares. We have equity shares and we also have preferential shares. Now, what is equity share and what is preferential share? What is the difference between both? See, equity shares are where you are having ownership kind of. In preferential share, you don't have any voting rights, so complete ownership is not there. But when the liquidation, that means you will get money faster compared to in equity. It can be liquidated at a very fast rate. And the dividend in equity will fluctuate, but in preference shares, it will stay constant. This is the difference between equity shares and preference shares. Okay. This is what you need to know. Now we have zero coupon bonds. Zero coupon bonds means they are issued at a very deep discount. There is no periodic interest. Bondholder will receive face value at maturity. That means if 100 rupees bond is there, before only I will give deep discount. I will give at 70 rupees. There will be the maturity amount that you will get. There will not be any kind of periodic interest that you will be paid. This is called a zero coupon bond. Municipal bond, as the name suggests, municipalities, if they have to construct projects and they require money, so to collect money from the market, they will issue bonds. They will give you bond and you will invest. Your money will be invested. They will say you will get this much of interest rate, this much of return. Okay. So this is called as municipal bonds. We have inflation indexed bonds. Now what happens is because of inflation, your return will get affected. So government will say, I will bear all the risk of inflation. I will compensate your return. I will compensate everything. So then it is called as inflation indexed bond. Masala bond. It is like if in international market, if I have to do any kind of transaction, the transaction is denominated in rupee instead of US dollars. Now the rupee fluctuations, all kinds of risk will be not borne by me, but by the foreign investor. It is called as masala bond. Okay. Then we also have sovereign gold bond. So it is issued by RBI on behalf of government. You invest cash to buy bonds. And the minimum quantity is also decided. Minimum quantity is 1 gram and a maximum 4 kg. You can't take 1000 kg. You will get 2.5% annual interest, which will be paid semi-annually to you, plus redemption amount at maturity, that is 8 years. That is based on gold's average price over the prior 3 days before you will redeem it. It is a kind of a paper alternative to physical gold. Without your storage hassle, you will have to keep in locker, etc., and everything you will have to do. So this is you don't need to do here, and your investment is more and more safer. Okay. Here some kind of government wants you to buy this because a lot of gold hoarding happens in India. So they will give you some exemptions as well, like capital gain is exempted for original holder till redemption. Original holder only till redemption. Okay. This is what you need to know. Now, perpetual bonds where there is no fixed maturity rate and it pays interest indefinitely. Okay. This is called as perpetual bond. We also have GSECs or government security. Now, government securities are a debt instrument. Well, we need money. I am a central government. I need money. So if I have to borrow funds from the public, I will give who is behind it? Government of India. A sovereign is guaranteeing your money. So a good amount of force is behind. These will offer you fixed interest, which is paid again semi-annually, and return the principal at maturity. Okay, so making them virtually risk-free. It is a risk-free investment. That is why it is called as gilt-edged investment. Gilt-edged investment. If UPSC is using this, it is right. Maturity can range, we had already studied T-bills, which are from 91 to 364 days to long term. 5 to 40 years also can be there. We have state development loans also issued by the state government, but state government cannot issue treasury bills. Now we have mutual funds. Now, see, if I'm a common man, people like you and me do not have that much amount of know-how where to invest in share. So there will be a fund manager, asset manager, whatever you want to call. So they will have a basket in which different types of share will be there. And you are investing in that basket. It is managed by a fund manager. This is called as mutual fund. Because there is a person who has a know-how, because there is a person who knows where to invest, how to invest, and how to reduce the risk. Also, it will give you more options. You can invest in a particular sector, like you can invest in L sector funds, you can invest in sunrise sector funds, you can invest in funds which have derivatives, which have like they are investing in large cap funds or small cap funds or multi cap funds. It can be, and you can have goal based mutual fund as well, like children funds. You can have a goal based retirement plans. So mutual fund gives you a wide canvas. That is the beauty. And again, the mutual fund can be related to equity, it can be related to debt funds, it can be hybrid of equity and debt both. That will have lesser risk, but usually it gives you lesser return. Equity has more risk, and in 10 years, 12 years, it mostly will outperform the bank's interest that you will get in debt. Hybrid is when you don't want to have that much of risk. Even if the share market is going through a bloodbath, your money will be saved. Now, ETF is like mutual fund, but it is traded on stock exchange like a share. That's the only difference. You must have heard about Bharat ETFs. We also have a real estate investment trust. What will happen is people will invest money, it will be pooled and it will be invested in income generating real estate. And it is classified by SEBI as equity instrument since 2025. We also have infrastructure investment trust. Now it invests in infrastructure assets like roads, power transmission, pipelines, and it is under hybrid category of SEBI. Okay. We also have alternate investment funds, which are further classified into category 1, category 2, category 3. Category 1 will have all kinds of investment which is done in socio-economically desirable areas, means backward areas, startups, they need your support. MSMEs includes a venture capital fund and social venture fund. So it is included in category 1. Category 2 will be something which is not in category 1 or 3, private equity, real estate funds. Category 3 is investing in risky instruments like hedge funds, lighter regulation only for the high net worth investors. What is hedge fund? You must be hedging. Now, when the rupee falls or rupee appreciates, there are people who earn money through it. They do hedging. There are a lot of other terms as well. There is a term in share market which is called a bear and bull. Bear is how bear walks. Bear will look downwards. So when the share market is going downward, so bear who earns money when share market falls, they will have the last laugh. Bull is always looking upward. When they say that market is bullish, that means the share market is going up. And the people who earn money when the share market appreciates, they will be enjoying it. This is the difference between bull and bear. We also have terms related to mutual funds like beta. The lesser the beta, the lesser we will have the fluctuations. Risk, it is related to risk. There are other ratios as well, but I don't think I'm discussing alpha beta because once UPSC had asked terms, one term related to this as well. That's why I just discussed it. I know every detail about mutual funds and share market, but I will not go in very much detail. Now we have derivative. As it is said, derivative means derived from some asset. That is called as derivative. Okay, two people are doing transaction and there is an underlying asset. That is called as derivative. Now, there are another things as well, like future and option. You all have a lot of doubt with respect to future and option. I have to invest in some commodity or something. So future will let me invest in anything, any asset. The price will be locked in today's price, not in future price, regardless of the fluctuation in market. Okay. So this is called as future. Now, option is a financial contract in which buyer have the right to do so, like the option only. But here I have not any obligation. I can move out of this contract as well. So I have more flexibility in option. However, I will have to give certain premium to exercise this option. This is the only difference between the future and option. In that also there is a classification between call and put option. Okay. Here in the call option, if the price rises above strike, buyers pays the premium, and if it falls below strike, buyers pays the premium. So premium को decide करने का these further classification is call and put. P notes is simply if I am an outside investor, I don't want to now go through all these painful regulation of SEBI. So I will try to invest through participatory notes. These are issued by the registered foreign portfolio investors, FPIs, to any overseas investor so that they can invest in Indian securities without direct SEBI registration. This is called as participatory notes, already asked in PYQs. Okay. We also have credit default swap, like credit risk insurance. Buyer pays premium, seller compensative, borrower defaults. These are not very important, but P notes, option is very, very important. Future and option difference is very, very important, already asked in PYQs. Now let's see RBI and credit control. So what are the functions of Reserve Bank of India? This is the first thing. It is called as Bankers Bank. Why it is called as Bankers Bank? What is the reason it is called as Bankers Bank? Because RBI is maintaining account of all commercial banks. And it also is providing the emergency funds. That is why it is called as Bankers Bank. Okay. It is also a regulator. It regulates banking, finance, and money market. It is custodian of our foreign exchange reserve. It is issuer of currency except ₹1 note. ₹1 note is issued by the Ministry of Finance. ये बन गया prelims का question. Should not go wrong. And it is controller of credit. It uses monetary policy tools. It is lender of last resort because in emergency liquidity condition, when bank is in dire need, there is no option. Bank is facing liquidity crisis. RBI will lend them. This is called as lender of last resort, already asked in PYQs. 2021. Banker to government. It also manages government's account and debt. We also has ways and means advance. You must have heard about it. Now there are various ways RBI can do control. two ways, basically two classification is there. One is called as quantitative, second is called as qualitative. Now, what is qualitative credit control? Quantitative includes, first of all, repo rate. So repo rate is at a rate if bank needs money, bank wants money from RBI. So at this rate, RBI will lend the money to banks. Bank will give GSECs, that is government sector, no, bonds. Okay. Now, if RBI has enhanced repo rate, that will make the lending of money for banks harder and difficult. So the credit in economy will reduce. Banks will desist when repo rate increases. You also, if the loan is now from 18% to 25%, you will desist taking loans. So now when bank will have lesser liquidity, the economy will suffer. So it is done when there is high inflation. When inflation is very, very high, when too much money is chasing few goods, then RBI will try to reduce the repo rate. The reverse is called as reverse repo rate. Now, rate at which RBI is borrowing from banks. So banks have surplus, they park with RBI overnight, and RBI is giving them some interest rate, and they are bankers' bank. So what bank does? They give you lesser interest rate, they charge from you maximum, the more. So RBI also reverse repo rate is lesser and repo rate is higher. They are, after all, the bankers' bank. We have another thing which has been started by RBI, that is standing deposit facility, called as SDF. So it is a collateral free tool. It was introduced, I think, in 2022. It allows banks to park excess liquidity with the central bank and earn interest rate. So how it is different from reverse repo operations? Now, reverse repo operations require government securities as collateral. GSECs will be there. Okay, and earn interest. SDF lets bank deposit surplus fund directly with RBI at their discretion. Now, this act as the floor of the liquidity adjustment facility corridor. Okay. It is typically 25 basis points below the repo rate. Repo rate will be always higher. 25 basis point means just understand that it will be lesser. It will be providing lesser interest rate. That is what RBI will do. After all, it is a banker's bank. We also have marginal standing facility, that is emergency overnight borrowing by banks from RBI. Rate is again higher than repo. Bank is pledging government security. It was introduced in 2011. We have bank rate. So rate for long-term loans by RBI to banks. Long-term. No collateral is required. No repurchase obligation is required. When it increases, less money supply will be there. For long term, there will be bank rate. We have CRR and SLR. Now, bank have to maintain something, otherwise there will be bank runs. So there are regulations. One is CRR and second is SLR. And these two will also control the credit creation. So if the RBI will increase CRR and SLR, then lesser money will be there, liquidity will be there at their disposal for the credit creation. What is the difference between CRR and SLR? So it is a minimum percent. Now it hovers roughly around 4% CRR. It changes according to the need. So minimum percent of deposit that is kept with RBI as cash only. And it is mandated under RBI Act 1934 and earns no interest. SLR is different. It is higher, but it is not just cash, first of all. It will have golds as well. It will have government securities as well. And it is kept with bank only, not with RBI. And it is mandated not under RBI Act 1934, but under Banking Regulation Act 1949. We have open market operations where what will happen? RBI will buy, if they are buying government security. So if they are buying government security, they are taking security, they are giving money. They will give money. When they will give money, there will be injection of money in the market. Okay. If RBI is selling government security, then they are taking money. So they are absorbing the excess liquidity in the market. This is what it is meant. All scheduled banks, financial institutions, retail investors can participate in open market operations. Okay. We have already read about these. Now, these are quantitative tools. What is qualitative tools? It's like the now not specifically repo, SLR, CRR, they are doing it indirectly. Like they will increase or decrease margin requirements. Margin requirement means if I can give 70 rupees loan, I need to keep 100 rupees collateral. Okay. So now the margin is 30%. So the more the margin, the lesser amount the bank can be able to give for loan. This is called as margin requirement. Then there can be consumer credit regulation. That is down payment requirements they can change. EMI conditions also they can change. That also indirectly will impact. Then rationing of credit. That is RBI will set credit ceiling for specific banks or sectors. Itna you can do it. Another term which is mostly in use, moral suasion. So RBI will persuade banks through circulars, meetings, especially when there is high inflation. It is not legally binding. So they are morally suing. Then we have selective credit control, where direct credit toward or away has been taken from specific sector. Credit will be taken or credit will be given. This is called as selective credit control to a particular sector, not to all the sectors. This is called as selective credit control. So this is what you need to know. Now, the next thing which is very, very important is inflation and price indexes. Usually asked a lot of times in the examination, and that is why I will give a good amount of focus to it. So, inflation is a sustained increase in price. Sustained is very, very important. Now, inflation can also be of different types. One is demand pull. Demand pull means when demand is more. When there is like 5 seats in any particular engineering college and there are 500 people. Money is more, seats are less. That will create inflation. This is called as demand pull. There is another which is called as cost push. Now, cost push is when production cost is rising. Maybe because of fuel prices increase. That will also cause inflation. Now, usually when inflation will happen, who will win? Somebody who had taken loan, they have to repay it. Now they have to repay because of higher inflation, lesser money. Okay, because money is appreciating, money is depreciating, money is losing its value. If inflation is more, you can buy less product. So it is the one who has taken the loan, debtor, they will repay cheaper. Creditor will lose. This is what you need to know. Now, there are different terms as well with respect to inflation that is based on the percentage. So, creeping is when less amount, 1 to 3%. Walking when a bit more, 3 to 10%. Okay. Galloping when 10 to 100% per year. Hyperinflation when 50% plus per month. That is hyperinflation, not per year. Okay. Stagflation is when there is low or negative GDP growth rate, but inflation is high and unemployment is also high. This is what causes stagflation. Then we have deflation. That is negative inflation. Prices of goods and services are falling. This is dangerous for economy. It discourages spending. We have disinflation, which is slowing inflation, not inflation going in negative. inflation, it is declining, but not it is in negative. It is still positive. It is controlled slowdown. Then we have reflation. Government is deliberately increasing inflation to come out of recession or to come out of deflation, which is not good for growth of economy, is called as reflation. Okay, we have already discussed demand pull and cost push inflation. Okay, so we already discussed this, the creditor and debtor, who will win it. Producer will gain with inflation, consumer will lose. Fixed income people generally lose, businessmen earn more. Bond issuer will gain, bond holder will lose. Okay, so this is what you need to know. Now, how to control inflation, as we discussed. RBI can change CRR, SLR. RBI can decrease money supply. That can control inflation. Okay, if very low inflation rate is there, then new currency can be issued. Fiscal policy by the government, they can reduce unnecessary expenditure. If they can, they will increase direct taxes. People will spend less. That can control inflation. Decrease indirect taxes, then the commodity price will decrease. We can also have liberal import policy, strict export policy. Liberal import, so countries like India, which are dependent on India, on import a lot. So we will be able to get commodities at a cheaper rate. We can have strict export policy so that you see pulses are less in India and people are exporting it to gain more money. And in India, there is scarcity. So what government will do? They will have strict export policy. At administrative level, we can have price controls. Now, hoarding, etc., should be controlled. Rationing of goods, rational wage policy. Wage policy should be rational. It's not like gig economy workers are earning almost negligible money. Then we have two indices, that is consumer price index and wholesale price index. Base year has been updated. Now, consumer price index also has many variants. That is CPI combined, CPI urban, rural, industrial workers. This includes goods and services. It includes indirect taxes, does not include capital goods, the consumer price index. Capital goods, why? Consumer को क्या लेना देना capital goods से? Wholesale price में okay, we can understand. It is for us, consumers. And the baskets are generally changed or added. Like new items were added: rural housing, online media streaming, value-added dairy, barley, pen drive, external hard disk, items that were removed which are not used now, like VCR, DVD, radio, tape recorder, etc. And it is used for inflation targeting by central government. 4% plus minus 2%. CPI combined. CPI combined is used by the government. Now, in terms of weights, the highest is of food and beverages. This is something which you need to cram. This you should know. Lowest is of recreation, sports, and culture. Then comes housing, water, electricity, gas, transport, clothing and footwear, health, personal care and miscellaneous services, furnishing, restaurants and accommodation, education services, information and communication, pan, tobacco, and intoxicants. You can see that things which are more and more essential, food and beverages, you are consuming daily, right? Housing, water, electricity, gas, मंथली हो सकता है. हाउसिंग तो चलो रेंट है ना, मंथली हो सकता है. ट्रांसपोर्ट, you may be doing it every day or you may not be doing it every day. Clothing and footwear, you don't take cloth and footwear every day. Okay, health requirement also doesn't come every day. So based on how important or recurring, you can just apply this logic and cram this. Okay. Then we have wholesale price index. As the name suggests, it is wholesale. It is for the people who are aggregators. Okay. In that, manufactured products have the highest. And it has to be. Then primary articles and then fuel and power. The difference between CPI, WPI, and another which is proposed one, producer price index. Ramesh committee had said that we should have the producer price index instead of WPI. So in CPI, we have goods plus services. In WPI, we have only goods. PPI will have services as well. Indirect taxes are included in CPI, but in WPI it is excluded. PPI will have excluded. Capital goods, consumer price में नहीं होगा. WPI it will be included. PPI it will be included. CPI is used for inflation targeting by monetary policy committee decisions as well. It is used for supply side price pressure, and it is more accurate producer prices. It will be more accurate compared to WPI. Then we have production indices as well, different production indices. Like one is Index of Industrial Production. It is released by NSO, MOSPI monthly. The base year is 2011-12. Now, it measures short-term changes in industrial production volume. Primary goods have the highest weightage. Then we have intermediate, then consumer non-durables, consumer durables, infrastructure construction, and capital goods have least. Sector-based manufacturing is highest, then mining, then electricity, and it excludes construction, gas, water supply. Exclusion is more important when you are preparing for prelims. This is more important. Then we have core industry index. 8 industries are there. It is released by DPIIT monthly. Base year is 2011-12. Now the highest is for refinery products. Okay, 28%. Then electricity, then steel, then coal, then crude oil, then natural gas, then cement, and then fertilizer has least. We also have purchasing manager index. It is not a government index. It is released by S&P Global monthly. If it is above 50, that means expansion. If it is below 50, it means contraction. We also have manufacturing PMI. We have services PMI, two separate one. Let's start fiscal policy, budget, and taxes. So what happens? Like our household, government also has certain expenditure and certain source of income. Okay. So the source of income is called as receipt, and source of expenditure is called as expenditure. Now in receipt also, there is further classification. One is revenue account and another is capital account. Now what is the difference between both? Now revenue account will be only considered with recurring expenses, something which is not creating any kind of, which is not coming from any kind of a capital. It's coming from recurring thing, like taxes we are paying regularly, right? You have direct taxes, you have indirect taxes, you have non-tax dividends as well. Government gets fees, fines, grants. So all these are source of income in terms of revenue account. Capital account, disinvestment of PSUs. They are selling some portion of stakeholder or ownership of PSU. That will come under capital account. Or loans that have been provided in past and it has been recovered. Sales of any asset of government. Internal borrowing or external borrowing done by the government. In terms of expenditure, the revenue expenditure contains the interest they pay on loans or subsidies they provide to, sometimes to a sector, sometimes to a person, sometimes to a self-help group. It depends. Pensions and salaries and grants that are provided. Capital expenditure is when government provides loan, creates capital goods, repays its own past loans, or invest in PSUs. Now, in an ideal scenario, the capital account should have more amount in terms of expenditure. If we are having more and more just revenue expenditure, that means the government is just focusing on recurring expenditure and not creating any value. Capital expenditure will create assets, your roads, your highways, your everything that you see, and it will create employment. So it is more and more important. In our budget also, if you see, the revenue receipt is 35 lakh crore and capital receipt is 1 lakh crore. Revenue expenditure is 41 lakh crore and capital expenditure is just 12 lakh crores. This is something which is a point of worry, specifically for a developing nation like us. Defense has the more amount of expenditure compared to your road transports and highways, then railways, then Ministry of Home Affairs, etc. You don't need to cram, just see this once. Now there are different types of deficit. One is the wholesale fiscal deficit, that is the total income minus total expenditure, excluding borrowings. Borrowing means if you will include borrowing, then it will become zero. But then again, the further classification is done in terms of classifying it. So one is the revenue deficit, that is just related to the revenue account. Our is currently 1.5% of GDP. Then we have effective revenue deficit, in which we are excluding the grants that are given to states for creation of a capital. So that is something which is long term. So effective revenue deficit is excluding this. Fiscal deficit for 2026-27 is 4.3% of GDP currently. Primary deficit, we exclude interest payment and just focus on the present portion. What is the present expenditure that is creating the deficit? So we exclude the interest payment, which is currently standing 0.7% of the GDP. That means a large chunk is going in payment of interest. And that has been asked in CDS as well. Interest payment is the biggest culprit. Now, let's see what are called as direct taxes. Direct taxes are something which you will see that you know that you are being taxed. It's not silent. You are earning income and you are coming into the slab which is taxable, you will be taxed. You will know it, it will pinch you. That is why you will say that people talk a lot about income tax, but they are paying, majority of the people are not paying income tax in India, just 3-4% of people. But everyone is paying indirect taxes. Still, they are not aware about it. It is a silent tax. One of the major portion of direct tax is income tax and corporate tax. Okay. And then we have minimum alternate tax as well. That is to ensure parity between the profitable companies. Okay. Then alternate minimum taxes. These are small kinds of taxes. These are for non-corporate entities. We have capital gain tax, like you bought a share in the year 2026 May, sold in 2028 December. This appreciated, right? So the appreciation will be taxed. That is called as capital gain tax. And it is applicable on share, property, bonds, everything. We have buyback tax as well. Tax when a company is repurchasing its own shares. Okay. STT, if you will invest any money in share market, this is something which you will be aware. Securities transaction tax, that is tax on purchase or sale of securities. And 2026-27 budget increased this on options and future. Can you imagine? The government is taxing everything possible. Then we have tax deducted at source, that is TDS. If you will win KBC mein kuch, anything, okay, you will be taxed, then you will get money after TDS. That's the deduction of payer at the time of payment only. If your salary comes, it is deducted at source itself, rent, interest, anything. TCS is tax collected at source, that is related to sellers when they are collecting this tax from the buyer at a time of specified sale. It can be related to scrap, minerals, foreign remittances, Okay, so it is related to business. It is related to something which an individual is also paying. Okay. Income Tax Act 2025. Now, tax year replaces previous year and assessment year with one unified term. Previously, there were two terms, previous year and assessment year. Now, all TDS provisions are under single section, so they are trying to simplify things. And virtual digital space and virtual digital asset formally defined now because the footprint of cloud, social media, crypto is increasing. That's why. Then we have GST, which is a destination based tax. Okay. And it is an indirect tax applied on consumption. We have GST Council under the Article 279A of Indian Constitution. It is a constitutional body and it is headed by Union Finance Minister. And all state finance ministers are member. It recommends the rates, exemptions, and GST laws. We also have GSTN, that is not for profit, non-government company, and it is the information technology backbone for GST. GST compensation scheme for small taxpayer. If you are a small taxpayer and your turnover is below threshold, like rupees 1.45 crore for goods and rupees 50 lakh for services. So you can pay fixed lower rate, okay. But you will not get input tax credit. Input tax credit, like if I am making Pepsodent, there is certain ingredient on which I would have paid tax. So now I am paying tax on the final goods as well. So I should get the difference of it. That is called as input tax credit. So that you are not taxed two times. Then we have reverse charge mechanism. So GST liability shifting from the supplier to the recipient. That is called as reverse charge mechanism. E-way bill are mandatory for movement of goods that is worth over rupees 50,000, and it is also generated on GSTN portal. GST 2.0 reform. So certain slabs were simplified. Previously there were 4 slabs, 5, 12, 18, 28 to 3 plus 1 slab. What is 3 plus 1? 0% is for exempt, like rice, wheat. 2018 they had asked GST rate as well. That's why I've included it. Rice, wheat, dal, millets, fresh fruits, vegetables, eggs, milk, paneer, life and health insurance. 5%, that is called as merit. Packaged food items, life-saving drugs. 18% is standard. Most remaining goods and services comes under this: two-wheelers, small cars, TV, AC, etc. And 40% is for sin or luxury goods: tobacco, pan masala, cigarettes, sugary drinks, energy drinks, and luxury cars. There is GST 80, that is GST Appellate Tribunal, that is launched in September 2025. That is forum of second appeal. Principal bench is in New Delhi, and there are 31 state benches for appeal. Adjudicating authorities, first appellate authority, then it will go to High Court, then the case will go to Supreme Court. Then we have different kinds of indirect taxes as well. Ad valorem, that is taxed as percentage of value, like 10% custom duty on phone worth rupees 50,000, that is 5,000. So the percentage of the value of a commodity, specific will be fixed tax per unit regardless of what is the value. So rupees 500 per kg tobacco regardless of the price of tobacco. Excise duties, tax on manufacturing of goods, largely subsumed under GST, except petroleum, alcohol, and tobacco are still outside. Custom duty, tax on import or export at border. It includes IGST, BCD. On imports, there are different taxes which are applied. Okay, you don't need to go deep into it. Now, tax avoidance concept, you must have heard now, black money. So black money is untaxed. You are not paying tax for the money, undisclosed. And there is a mechanism called as tax avoidance. So there are various mechanisms for it. One is base erosion and profit shifting. So MNC will shift profit from a high tax to low tax country. You must be wondering why there are so many companies in, say, for example, Dubai. Why it is called as tax haven? Because the tax rate in Dubai is low. So the MNCs are trying to use this loophole, and they are trying to shift the profit from, say, for example, high tax country like India to those low tax countries. That erodes the tax base of high tax nations like India. Another concept is transfer pricing. So, pricing of goods and services between related entities of same MNC across borders. Two companies are there of same entity, and they are showing kind of a transaction to avoid the taxation. That is called as transfer pricing. But to avoid this, there is arm length principle. So related companies must charge the same price as unrelated independent parties would in free market. You cannot have any kind of fear or favor here. This is called as arm's length principle. We have safe harbor rule as well. If transfer price within government is within government defined range, then hassle free there will be acceptance by tax authority to avoid litigation, because mind you, our income tax department and government is the biggest litigation in terms of taxation. Only the maximum litigation goes, and majority of the cases they are losing as well. So government also doesn't want more and more litigation. There is also advance pricing agreement, that is pre-agreed deal between a taxpayer and tax authority on transfer pricing methodology for 3 to 5 years. Indirect transfer. So suppose a foreign company is owning an Indian asset. Now India taxes this to prevent any kind of avoidance. This is called as indirect transfer. We have financial secrecy index that is released by Tax Justice Network. USA is at number 1, second is Switzerland, third is Singapore, fourth is Hong Kong. There are some terms as well. Tax to GDP ratio. So India is at 17%. That too, center has almost double of the state. OECD average is 34%. Clearly, we are very low. Tax buoyancy is the percentage change in tax revenue with respect to the percentage change of GDP. Tax elasticity is percentage change in tax revenue when you are changing the tax rate. Tax expenditure is revenue foregone due to the exemptions given by government, deductions or concessions. This is called as tax expenditure. Then we have Pigovian tax. Tax on negative externalities, like pollution is a negative externality, it's destroying the environment. Tobacco is destroying the health, to make producer bear the social cost. Then we have Tobin tax. What is Tobin tax? Tobin tax is small tax on foreign exchange transactions to curb speculative short-term capital flows. Short-term speculative capital flows को desist करने के लिए we have Tobin taxation. We also have fiscal drag or bracket creep. That is, inflation pushes taxpayer to higher bracket without real income growth. This is happening in our nation, na? So inflation is pushing them to the higher bracket without the real income growth. Then we have Laffer curve. So it says that, like, if tax rates we are increasing, like this tax rates are going, okay, beyond a point, total revenue will start decreasing. This is called as optimal rate. Okay. Further increase will reduce the total revenue, as people will now start avoiding taxation. So this relationship between the tax rate and revenue is shown through Laffer curve. Okay. Then we have automatic stabilizer, that is built-in mechanism, which is a progressive taxation, unemployment benefit that reduces the fluctuation without new policy action. Now in budget 2026, the collection is the income tax collection is more than corporate, then GST, then excise, then customs. Okay, this is the fact that you need to cram. Now you can see the situation of states is that they are giving more and more freebies. The situation of the debt in states, particularly states like West Bengal, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, you will see that the debt is rising a lot. Now, this will create a kind of disaster in economy. That is why there was an act which was enacted in 2003. It is called as Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003. That is legally binding fiscal discipline targets. Originally, the target was that fiscal deficit should be 3% of GDP, revenue deficit should be 0%. Now, this act ensures that there are three mandatory statements that are released with budget. One is medium term fiscal policy statement, another is fiscal policy strategy statement, and third is macroeconomic framework statement. Then encasing committee came in 2017, already asked in PYQs. These encasing committees shift anchor to debt to GDP instead of just fiscal deficit. Target was 60% of GDP, in which 40% will be of center and 20% will be of state. It also provided escape clause. So targets can be breached in terms of national calamity, war, or structural reforms. You must have seen in COVID-19 pandemic, one of this was used. Now, current debt to GDP ratio, Union government 56% as of March 2026, states 29%, center projects 50% plus minus 1% by March 2031. Another term is off budget borrowing. What is off budget borrowing? That is borrowing by PSUs or special purpose vehicle on behalf of government. This is not shown in official fiscal deficit calculation, now disclosed in budget documents as well. Now the 16th Finance Commission report, let's see report patafat se. 14th Finance Commission set the vertical devaluation at 42%, 15th made it 41%, and 16th kept it at 41%. Okay. Grants that it has continued is 9.47 lakh crores for urban and rural local bodies and for disaster management, and it has discontinued revenue deficit grant, sector specific grant, and state specific grant. If we have to analyze the subsidies order, then the maximum subsidies is released for food, then for fertilizer, and then for interest subsidy, and last is fuel. Okay. Fiscal Health Index is released by Niti Aayog, and it ranks states on quality of expenditure, revenue mobilization, fiscal prudence, debt index, debt sustainability, and topmost is Odisha, followed by Chhattisgarh, then Goa, then Jharkhand, then Gujarat. It is important for your prelims examination. Then we have Ricardian equivalence. That is, government borrowing and taxation have an equivalent effect. Rational individuals save anticipating future taxations, leaving demand unchanged. Okay. So if, say for example, taxation is reduced. Now I know that in future it will be increased. So now I am saving more. So if government is borrowing or doing changes in taxation, it will have equivalent effects. This is called as Ricardian equivalence. Okay. Then we have switch auction. Government exchanges existing government sector for new government sector bonds. So it manages maturity profile by replacing short term with long term securities. It is conducted by RBI. Okay, they prefer more and more long term. The long term will ensure for it is for capital investment. So if one government sector bonds is exchanged for a new government sector bond, usually it is done for short term is exchanged with long term. It will depend on the pressing circumstances, and it is done by the Reserve Bank of India. Then the next is monetary policy. Majority of the things we have already read: inflation targeting, repo, reverse repo. We already understood. Let's now read Monetary Policy Committee. So it is a statutory committee under RBI Act 1934 It was amended in 2016. Composition is 6 members, 3 from RBI, governor as the chair, deputy governor for monetary policy, 1 RBI official, and 3 from central government. Minimum meetings 4 per year, quorum 4 members, including governor. Inflation targeting CBI combined 4 plus minus 2%. 2% is floor, 6% is ceiling set by the union government. Monetary Policy Committee decides repo rate to keep inflation within target. Decision by majority vote. Governor has casting vote in case of tie. MPCI stands accommodative, neutral, calibrated, tightening, and hawkish. Now, what all this? What is all this? This is something which you need not go very deep into, but still you should have some idea about it. Okay. There are mainly 3 stances which are important, which you should know. So accommodative stance जब RBI का होता है, then what happens? Repo rate को they lower it. So that is done to boost growth and credit. People will borrow more. EMIs कम हो जाएंगी. It will lower the EMI. Then neutral stance. There is no strong direction that RBI takes. It tries to balance between the growth and inflation. It keeps the options open. Tightening में they will tend to raise the repo rate. They are now prioritizing managing inflation in the economy. Okay. So these two we had already discussed. And also the interest rate and bonds have an inverse relationship, bond yield. So generally when the interest rates will increase, bank will tend to increase the interest rate. So people will go towards the bank and they will prioritize more bond yields, then decreases. When interest rates will decrease, bond yields will increase. Let's understand it in a common way. If bank is providing you 9%, say for example, fixed deposit interest rate, the demand for bond will decrease. In simple manner, I am not going too technical, just to understand. If the interest rate that bank is providing is 4 to 5% or 6%, then the demand for bond will increase. So in general, interest rate and bonds yield have inverse relationship, keeping other parameters, other factors constant. This is something which you need to understand. Okay. And taxes, etc. we had discussed. If government is spending more and more or taking more and more money out of the market, then it will lead to crowding out. Crowding out means, ab dekho, money in the economy is something which is fixed. Ab isme government is taking most of the pie, then for private investment, the pie will remain less. That is called as crowding out effect. Okay. High inflation hoga to low disposable income, higher tax collection, real debt level will fall, export will suffer, currency will start depreciating. Currency will start. Now all these things do happen only when other things are constant. Now if high inflation is there, what will happen? How it will impact our say for example exports. Will our export become better, more competitive, or it will become less competitive? Because of high inflation in India, say for example, very high inflation is there, commodity prices are increasing, and at higher commodity, will our export be competitive? It will become lesser competitive, right? Okay. So you need to correlate by keeping yourself in mind. When fiscal deficit will increase, government will borrow more and more, inflation will increase. Government is more and more borrowing. Inflation will increase in the economy. Interest rates will be higher. And sovereign rating of India will decrease. Okay. So that is why the fiscal deficit should not be too much. Government is borrowing, government is taking up all the pie. That is also should not be done. Government should reduce the borrowing. It should not reduce the available money that is left for the corporates or private investment. That is very, very important. You should understand it. Okay. So increasing fiscal deficit is something which government tries to reduce. Okay. That is why. Because an increasing fiscal deficit will create crowding out effect where increased government borrowing raises interest rate and reduces available fund for private investment. Now, if the deficit is financed by printing more money, then it will create inflation. Understood? I'm giving it more focus because this type of question has been asked 3 to 4 times. Public debt will increase. So persistent deficit will result in higher government borrowing. Now adding again to the nation's total debt burden. And investors' confidence will further decrease. If the indirect taxes here is increasing, that is indicator of regressive tax regime. That is, if a poor person is buying, say for example, a product and rich is buying, for the both of the person, the tax rate will be same, but income tax is progressive. Higher the income, higher the tax rate. So, in general, indirect taxes here should not be higher than the direct tax here, because it will indicate the regressive tax regime is there. If direct taxes here is more, then it is indicator of progressive tax regime. RBI Economy Capital Framework, Bimal Jalan Committee 2019, it defined how much capital buffer RBI must maintain and how much surplus to transfer to government. This has become a lot of debate and range of questions were asked. The section which talks about it, is it mentioned in constitution or not? Majority of the things are not mentioned in the constitution. So because of that, a lot of questions came in 2019, 2020 and 2021. The RBI income sources are interest on government securities, interest on foreign assets like Forex Reserve, interest on all the liquid adjustment facility and MSF and all of this. And also profit from issuing currency. Then contingent risk buffer, that is 5.5 to 6.5% of RBI's balance sheet maintained before transferring any surplus to government. This has to be first maintained. Remaining surplus transferred to central government as dividend under section 47 of RBI Act. Now we have another thing that is called as Cantillon effect. What is Cantillon effect? It refers to a phenomena where there is a change in money supply, but it is not affecting all people or prices simultaneously or uniformly. Why so? New money is entering the economy at specific points. Okay. Why? There is a non-neutrality of money. So contrary to the theory suggesting money is neutral, this theory argued that it changes relative prices. New money will flow through specific channels like bank, government, contractors, or large corporations before it will reach the general public. Okay. So the injection level, the central bank or government, which creates the new economy, then it will reach the early gainers. That is again banks, financial institutions, and the government that receive this money first. Then it reaches the asset, it leads to asset price rise. This initial spending often targets assets like stock or real estate. Last is the late receivers. By the time the money trickles down to wage earners and savers, inflation has already driven up the cost of living. So these people spend devalued money on goods that are already more expensive. So thus it is not impacting everyone equally. Okay. Since the wealthy own more assets, stocks, property, they benefit more from the immediate price increase triggered by new money. People with fixed income or low cash savings see their purchasing power eroded by rising prices before. Okay. Now we have banking system where, first of all, let's see the difference between banks and NBFC. So banks are regulated under Banking Regulation Act 1949. NBFCs are regulated under Companies Act 2013 and RBI regulations. Demand deposits can be accepted by bank, but NBFC cannot accept it. FDI up to 74% for private banks with government approval, NBFC up to 100%. Payment and settlements are integral part of a bank. It is not part of the system of NBFCs. Reserve ratios are mandatory for banks like CRR or SLR. In NBFC, it is not required. Deposit insurance, it is available up to 5 lakh for the banks, but for NBFCs, it is not available. Credit creation, yes, money multiplier effect will be there. Money multiplier effect, what is it? You are spending 100, saving 100 rupees, giving to the bank. Banks are giving a portion of it for the loan. Credit is created and it keeps on multiplying. Okay, it is called as credit creation. By giving loans, the credit sort of multiplies. Okay. Transaction services can provide, NBFC cannot provide. Then we have scheduled banks. So banks which are listed in second schedule of RBI Act 1934 are called as scheduled banks. There are two categories of it, scheduled commercial banks and scheduled cooperative banks. They are eligible to borrow from RBI under LAF and MSF, eligible for clearing house, greater credibility. Now we have public sector banks, 12 public sector banks, FDI up to 20%. Okay, we have 21 private banks, FDI 49% under automatic route, 74% under government approval. Now there are different types of bank. Regional rural banks, which are called as RRBs. These were established under RRB Act 1976. Ownership is center 50%, state 15%, sponsor bank 35%, and is regulated by RBI. It is supervised by NABARD. CRR and SLR applicable. PSL target 75%. One state, one RRB policy. Now 28 regional rural banks across the states, 26 states. Okay. Across 26 states and 2 union territories. Goa and Sikkim have no regional rural bank. This is the prelims fact. बन गया एक statement. Goa and Sikkim have no regional rural bank. रट्टा मार लो. ये note down कर लिया करो in a separate A4 size paper where such facts which I am saying this can make a statement. This can make a statement. This will make a statement. I can bet you. Small finance bank. Based on Nachiket More Committee 2014 promotes financial inclusion for small and marginal farmers, micro enterprises, unorganized sector. PSL target has been recently reduced from 75% to 60%. AU Small Finance Bank received in principal approval to transit to Universal Bank. Okay. और पहला बनेगा ये small finance bank to do so. Then we have payment banks. You must have seen are Airtel, Fino, Jio, India Post. These are all payment banks. These are also based on Nachiket More Committee 2014. Cannot give loans, cannot issue credit cards, can issue debit cards. Okay. Now we have examples of these Airtel, Fino, Jio, NSDL, India Post. 75% of demand deposits must go in government sector or treasury bills. 25% remaining will be with scheduled commercial banks. India Post Payment Bank is 100% government owned, established in 2018. We have urban cooperative banks. These are also regulated by RBI, Banking Regulation Act 1949, amended in 1966. Okay. Now, what is this? NUCFDC. Okay. These big organizations are very, very important. This is National Urban Cooperative Finance and Development Corporation Limited. It is an umbrella organization established to revitalize and modernize India's urban cooperative banks. It was inaugurated in early 2024 to serve as a specialized apex body for the sector. Okay. It is established under Ministry of Corporation, operates as NBFC, regulated by RBI. PSL target is 60%. So this is heading it, and these are the requirement of urban cooperative banks. Then we have rural cooperative banks. These are short terms. Okay, and then here also we have different kinds of bank at state level, district level, and village level. Okay. And we have long terms as well, like land banks. There is dual regulation of these banks, RBI plus state government. Okay. PACS are regulated only by state government, registrar of cooperative society. Now, what is PACS? It is Primary Agriculture Credit Society. This is what you need to know. Don't go too deep into it. This is District Central Cooperative Bank. Okay. These are the full forms if you want to know. Then we have development financial institutions. Exim Bank, established 1982, provides direct credit to exporter importers, 100% owned by government. NABARD 1982 refinance to RRBs, cooperative bank, not direct lending to individuals, 100% government of India, operates the RIDF. Now, what is RIDF? This is something comment. Rural Infrastructure Development Fund. Rural Infrastructure Development Fund. ये कौन ऑपरेट करता है? NABARD. Then we have National Housing Bank, established in 1988, refinances to housing finance companies, HFCs and banks, 100% Government of India operated. SIDBI, established in 1990, primarily refinances banks, NBFC, some direct lending to MSMEs as well, owned by NABARD, SBI and LIC, etc. Then we have Mudra, established in 2015, subsidiary of SIDBI. It is also a refinancing agency for banks, NBFCs, MFIs, collateral-free loan to micro, small, non-farm enterprises. Shishu, up to 50,000. Kishore, 50,000 to 5 lakh. Tarun, 5 lakh to 10 lakh. Tarun plus rupees 10 lakh to 20 lakh. ये हो गया important fact. What is refinancing? If I ask you what is refinancing, see, देखो concept clear करके we will go. Refinancing is a financial process जहां पे a borrower replaces an existing debt obligation with a new one under different terms. एक तो ये हो गया, ठीक है. बट इन टर्म्स ऑफ बैंकिंग क्या होता है? इन द कोऑपरेटिव सेक्टर what will happen is there will be an apex body like NABARD. It will provide fund to a bank like DCCB. It will reimburse them for loans they have already given to farmers. This is called as refinancing in banking terms. Different meanings are there for different things of refinancing. For banking, this is. Then we have an NPS. NPS, loan where principal or interest is overdue beyond 90 days. Stressed asset, loans overdue up to 90 days before becoming NPA. SARFAESI Act allows bank to recover loan by auctioning defaulters' asset without court intervention. And then we had Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. That was an umbrella code which wanted a time-bound resolution. Minimum default should be less than rupees 1 crore. NCLT for companies and LLP. LLPs ना liabilities वाले हमारे limited liability partners होते हैं, for those, and DRTs for individuals. Okay, this is what you need to know. Appeals will go to NCLAT and then to Supreme Court. National Company Law Tribunal is adjudicating not just companies but also limited liability partnerships in India. Okay. This is what happens when you get tired. But okay, I will finish it and I will help you all to the maximum of my abilities. Then Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, statutory board under Ministry of Corporate Affairs, regulates insolvency professionals, agencies, information utilities. फिर एक बैड बैंक्स बोलते हैं. सो बैड बैंक्स स्टैब्लिश किया गया था फॉर एक्वायरिंग लार्ज एनपीएस फ्रॉम बैंक्स. 51% विल बी ऑफ पीएसबीज एंड 49 फॉर द मतलब गवर्नमेंट एंड उनमें प्राइवेट्स में क्लासिफिकेशन था. ओके, दैट्स इट. डोंट गो too deep into it. Private sector banks or public sector banks are taking the responsibility together. Then we have prompt corrective action. So RBI framework for weak banks, restrict activities introduced in 2002. वो कर देंगे कि you can't issue credit cards, can't give loans, these things. Then we have BankNet, online portal by PSB Alliance Private Limited for e-auction of assets attached by the public sector banks. Then you must have heard about BASEL norms. So there is a bank for international settlement which was established in 1930. Headquarter is Basel, Switzerland. 63 central bank members. RBI joined in 2013. Objective is international monetary and financial stability. So Basel Committee on Banking Supervision under BIS sets Basel norms. Basel 1 आया था 1988 में, Basel 2 came in 2004, Basel 3 came in 2010. It applies to scheduled commercial banks, excludes RRB, SFB, payment banks, etc. Now, what does Basel 3 told? It said about CRAR, that is capital to risk weighted asset ratio, minimum 8% of RWA. Okay. Now, what is CRAR and RWA? Let's understand it. So it is a primary metric used to measure a bank's financial health. ये ऐसे किया जाता है इसमें टायर 1 कैपिटल, टायर 2 कैपिटल एंड रिस्क वेटेड एसेट से डिवाइड करते हैं. इट एंश्योर्स द बैंक हैज अ कुशन ऑफ इट्स ओन मनी. और RW होता है रिस्क वेटेड एसेट्स. लाइक नॉट ऑल एसेट्स ऑन अ बैंक बैलेंस शीट कैरी द सेम रिस्क. So risk weighted asset is a calculation that adjusts the value of assets based on how likely they are to default. Okay. Examples of weight are like cash or government securities have 0% risk. Home loans में 35 to 75% risk, relatively safe due to collateral, and unsecured personal loans have highest risk. So if a bank is lending rupees 100 as a personal loan, 100% weight, its RWA is rupees 100. If it buys rupees 100 of government bonds, 0% weight, so the risk weighted asset will be 0 rupees. आप समझ गए? Now you understood it, everything. I will make you everyone understand the economy. It's just not will be a rectification thing. Okay, as much as possible. We also have capital conservation buffer. This is another term. This has to be 2.5% of risk weighted asset. It is an additional layer of capital that banks are required to maintain on top of their capital adequacy ratio. We also have counter cyclical capital buffer that has to be kept, the 0 to 2.5% of risk weighted asset. It is another extra layer of capital that regulates the banks. Banks are required to hold only during period of high credit growth, not always. Then we have leverage ratio of 3%. These I can understand that it is becoming too technical, but UPSC कोई भरोसा नहीं है, anything can come. So the leverage ratio is a non-risk based measure to introduced under Basel 3. Okay. The leverage ratio treats all assets more equally. It ensures a bank doesn't cheat the system by underestimating the risk of its loan. So leverage ratio will include tier 1 capital divided by total exposure. So tier 1 capital is the core equity and reserves, your own money. So it is trying to even consider the safer part, that is called as leverage ratio. And liquid coverage ratio and net stability funding ratio also it has included. Then we have priority sector lending, PSL. So it sets mandatory lending targets by RBI to ensure credit flows to specific sectors. Guidelines are issued under Banking Regulation Act 1949. It applies to banks and not NBFCs. Indirect loans, loans to NBFCs lending to PSL categories, and also counting PSL target. Then we have PSL certificates. So these are tradable. Banks exceeding targets can sell to bank falling short. Traded on RBI's ICOR portal does not transfer loan assets or risk. यहाँ से बन गया question. One statement. If still unable to meet target, shortfall deposited to. No, we have different funds: RIDF, UIDF. Okay. Rural Infrastructure Development Fund, Urban Infrastructure Development Fund, etc. We have domestic commercial banks versus foreign banks. We have 20 plus branches. We have foreign banks. Okay, there are different proprietary sector lending target. For domestic commercial banks and foreign banks, we have 40% PSL target. For foreign banks having more than 20 branches, there is 40%, where 32% export credit plus 8% any other PSL. Regional rural banks 75% PSL target. Small finance banks 60% recently reduced from 75%. Recently हुआ है. Urban cooperative bank 60%. अब इसमें भी वीकर सेक्शन 12% होना चाहिए. एग्रीकल्चर स्मॉल एंड मार्जिनल फार्मर्स 10%. एग्रीकल्चर अदर फार्मर्स 8%. माइक्रो एंटरप्राइजेस 7.5%. Others like MSMEs, education, renewable energy, export credit, and social infrastructure 2.5%. Okay. Then we have NPCI. This is an umbrella organization for retail payments and settlement system in India, and it is initiative of RBI and IBA. Okay. So this has become more important, specifically when you see that there is a rise in terms of payment gateways. So Indian Bank Associations and Reserve Bank of India, they came together and they created this organization. It is not a statutory body incorporated as not for profit under Section 8 Companies Act 2013. Okay. UPI, we all do real time mobile interbank transfer. UPI 123 Pay will be also available in feature phones. UPI Lite, offline small payments. Namibia, first African country to adopt UPI. ठीक है. Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Mauritius, Singapore, France, UAE, Qatar. We have expanded our UPI network. Recently, a very important PIB article also came. So it is important for this year examination. Then NPCI International, wholly owned subsidiary of NPCI, promotes UPI and RuPay globally, connects UPI with Universal Postal Union. RuPay कार्ड आपने यूज किया ही होगा. IMPS ट्रांसफर, भीम, भारत इंटरफेस फॉर मनी. ठीक है. This is National Automated Clearing House. These are not that important. Bharat Bill Payment System, FASTag, you would have seen for toll collection. CTS is check transaction truncation system, not transaction system. We have National Financial Switch, which connects ATM across the nation. E-rupees digital voucher via SMS or QR code. It is prepaid, purpose-linked welfare delivery, not a currency. It is not a currency. Don't think it as a currency. It is for welfare measures. E-rupee. Then we have central bank digital currency. So it is a digital form of Indian physical rupee issued by RBI. It is a legal tender. What is a legal tender? When demonetization happened, this was also asked. It cannot be refused. This is the first thing that should come in your mind. In terms of settlement, liability of RBI, non-interest bearing, fungible. No, what is fungible? एक आया था ना fungible tokens. So what is fungible? Fungible is an item whose individual units are identical and can be exchanged for one another without any loss in value. ये मतलब सिंपल में इंटरचेंजेबिलिटी होता है. Okay, nothing else. Interchange you can do it without any kind of a loss. Finality of settlement. And then there are different forms which have been released: wholesale, retail. Project M-Bridge, that is multi-central bank initiative for cross-border CBDC payments, led by BIS Innovation Hub with China, Thailand, UAE, and Hong Kong. Then we have Payment Regulatory Board and Digital Payment Index. So Payment Regulatory Board, it is replacing the earlier body. Okay. It is a statutory body under Payment and Settlement System Act. BPSS is Board for Regulation and Supervision of Payment and Settlement System. याद करने की जरूरत नहीं है. 6 members, RBI Governor as Chair, Deputy Governor, RBI officials, 3 government nominees, meets at least twice a year, tenure 4 years. Digital Payment Index released by RBI semi-annually. Base period at March 2018, 100 parameters, payment enablers, infrastructure, demand and supply, payment performance, and consumer centricity are the parameters that are considered. अब ये SWIFT है. That is Secure Messaging Network, founded in 1973. Headquarters is La Halle, Belgium, connects 11,000 plus institutions in 200 plus countries, does not transfer money, is simply messaging network है. Transfer instructions became geopolitical tool in Russia's sanction 2022. BRICS is working on alternative, that is BRICS Pay. फिर क्रेडिट वर्दीनेस मेजरमेंट्स होती हैं. Measures credit worthiness of individuals. Must have heard about CIBIL score. Okay. Then we have credit rating agencies. These are regulated by SEBI, example CRISIL, CARE, ICRA, Brickworks. We have Financial Services Institution Bureau, which was set up in 2022. It replaced the Bank Board Bureau. It selects top officials like MD, CEO, directors for public sector banks and public sector financial institutions. Then we have Financial Fraud Risk Indicator. It is a risk-based metric by Department of Telecommunications. Classifies mobile numbers as medium, very high, high risk fraud. Nostro account, our account with you. Indian bank's account in foreign bank in foreign currency is called as Nostro account. ठीक है? Sovereign wealth fund, state-owned investment funds. India does not have anyone yet. India doesn't have anyone yet. बन गया एक prelims का statement. Okay? फिर external sector and foreign exchange. So current में आएगा recurring again here also. Okay? Exports, imports of physical goods. India status trade deficit है. Import is more than export. Then current services में we have IT, tourism, financial, transport services. यहाँ surplus because of IT. Current transfers, remittances, gifts, donations, surplus है यहाँ पे. India is a top global remittance receiver. Then FDI, that is investment to acquire management control. अब अगर इसमें we have to see ranking. Singapore is highest 30%. FDI inflows from here. Then Mauritius 17%, US 11%. Okay. And it increased from $70 billion to $80 billion. Then we have FPI, that is foreign portfolio investment in financial market like stocks and bonds. Volatile, and is also called as hot money. It is regulated by SEBI. Then ECB's external commercial borrowings by domestic private sector. Maximum maturity is 3 years generally. Okay. Current account, capital account, official reserve transactions, ये सब चीजें आती हैं. These you don't need to cram, just this top trading partners in terms of total trade. US $132 billion, China $127 billion, UAE $100 billion, Russia $68 billion, Saudi $41 billion. Service imports 2% of global imports है. Merchandise import 2.8% of global imports. Service exports 4.3% of global service exports. Merchandise export is 1.8% of global goods export. In terms of top export destination, सबसे ऊपर USA because of IT, UAE, Netherlands, UK and China. Top import sources China number 1, Russia, UAE, US and Saudi. बहुत important है these facts of prelims. Largest trade deficit with China, then Russia, UAE, Iraq, Switzerland. Largest trade surplus with US. That's why Donald Trump is putting all these trade barriers and increasing tariffs. Netherlands, then Bangladesh, then Nepal, then Sri Lanka. If you see the major item that we import is crude oil, gold, electronics and semiconductors, machinery and capital goods, APIs for our antibiotics, vegetable oils, fertilizer and pulses. Major exports is refined petroleum products, engineering goods, gems and jewelry, drugs and pharmaceuticals, textile, marine products and rice. Then there are different exchange rate system, fixed exchange rate system, where rate are set by central bank, not market determined, provides stability but lacks flexibility. LPG reform से पहले India में this was the case. Then flexible or floating rate, fully market determined, no central bank intervention, theoretical, rare in practice because government and central bank intervenes time to time. Managed float, market determined but central bank intervenes when needed. India follows managed float system. Rupee appreciation, depreciation, बहुत, it is very, very important for this year examination. Extremely important. ठीक है? If rupee is appreciating, export will become less competitive. It will become expensive for foreigners. when rupee is depreciating, it will become more competitive. Why so? Ab 100 rupees may, if they were able to, like 100 rupees is $1. Now Indian rupee is depreciating. Now 110 rupees is $1. And if they are buying one pen of 10 rupees, previously they were able to buy only 10 pens. Now they can, in the same $1, they can buy 11 pens. So now what is this? This means that now our export will become more competitive. So in an export driven economy, this can have benefit, but we import a lot. So appreciation will help us. The import will become cheaper. But what is happening in is that our rupee is depreciating. So it is becoming more and more expensive. Okay. Now it is also increasing our debt. Then we have now other things as well, like how it causes. So rupee appreciation will happen when capital will inflow in the nation. Weak US dollar globally, lower US federal rates. US के federal rates will reduce now. Then India's rupee will appreciate. More investment will come in India. Money to hai, money will come in India. But if they will raise interest rate, then capital will outflow from India. Higher import leads to depreciation, capital outflows, inflation, strong US dollars. All of this can lead to depreciation of the currency. There were two terms, NER, RER was asked in PYQ. So NER is weighted average of rupee versus basket of trading partner currencies. If this is increasing, rupee is appreciating. Simple ratta marlo. RER is NER adjusted for inflation differential. Now, if this is increasing, trade competitiveness is decreasing. Again, do a rectification of this. India's current currency convertibility, so fully convertible in current account, not fully convertible in capital account to safeguard the economy. Okay. इन्फ्लेशन होगा तो एक्सचेंज रेट को नेगेटिवली इन्फ्लुएंस करें, इंटरेस्ट रेट्स पॉजिटिवली इन्फ्लुएंस, पब्लिक डेट नेगेटिवली इन्फ्लुएंस, पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी पॉजिटिवली इन्फ्लुएंस, करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट नेगेटिवली इट विल इन्फ्लुएंस. ओके. डिवैल्यूएशन तब होता है जब फोर्सफुली और डिक्रीजिंग डोमेस्टिक करेंसी वैल्यू बाय सेंट्रल बैंक. Export central economy deliberately doing this for their gain. Revolution forcefully increase the domestic currency value by central bank. ये forceful है, not by the market mechanism. Forex Reserves February 2026 data. This is the foreign currency एक्सेट सबसे ज्यादा component है $573 billion. Gold is next $128 billion. Special drawing rights $19 billion. Reserve tranche position $5 billion. Total $725 billion. Global rank 5th. China $3.6 trillion. Japan $1.4 trillion. Switzerland $1 trillion. Russia $826 billion. Import cover है ये 11 to 12 months का. When LPG reform came, we didn't had even 2 to 3 weeks import cover. Special drawing rights. So it is a monetary instrument created within IMF. This is a basket of US dollar, euro, okay, GBP, Japan's currency, and China's currency. Okay. So SDR consists of what? This can be the question, and it is important as well because it has been asked several times in PYQs. Economy में so many things will now change. So US dollar is the largest component, approximately 43%. Euro the second largest, 29%. Then we have Chinese, renminbi, that yuan भी बोलते हैं. It is 12.28%. Japanese yen is 7.9%. British pound sterling is the least 7.44%. So holding SDRs gives IMF member countries a guaranteed right to obtain any of the freely usable currency in the basket. The IMF and other international organization uses the SDR as their official unit of accounting to avoid fluctuation caused by a single currency. The RBI holds a portion of India's foreign exchange reserve in the form of SDRs. Okay. And they are highly fungible. Again, convertibility is there. Okay. BOP implication table. So increase in import worsens the current account deficit naturally होगा ही. Decrease in export worsens the CAD. Again, export decrease होगा तो भी this will happen. Persistent current account deficit will have pressure on forex reserves. Falling forex reserves reduces ability to pay for import. Sharp fall in forex reserves will trigger BOP crisis. Increase in external debt will raise repayment obligation in foreign currency. High debt servicing will drain forex reserves. Rupee depreciations makes import costly, increases debt burden, boosts exports. Global oil price rise will increase import bill worsens the current account deficit. Capital outflow will reduce capital account inflows, rupee depreciates. Weak capital inflow fails to finance current account deficit, puts pressure on forex reserves. क्रेडिट रेटिंग अगर डाउनग्रेड हो गया, रिड्यूस इन्वेस्टर्स कॉन्फिडेंस, ट्रिगर्स मोर कैपिटल आउटफ्लो. अगर एक्सपोर्ट इंक्रीज हो गया तो इट विल इंप्रूव द फॉरेक्स इनफ्लो एंड करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट विल नैरो डाउन. Attracting FDI and FPI more and more will strengthen the capital account. Using the forex reserve short term stabilization के लिए it's fine. Controlled currency depreciation, it will boost the exports, discourages non-essential imports. Fiscal consolidation, it will reduce the macroeconomic imbalance, and structural reforms will improve long-term competitiveness. This has to be our target as a nation. Large fiscal deficit and current account deficit, these are not good for macro stability, and foreign exchange reserves, etc. also decreases. Now let's see the crude oil reserves पूरे वर्ल्ड में. These are hot points for your prelims. So Venezuela number 1, Saudi Arabia number 2. इसीलिए वेनेजुएला को the Americans targeted. Saudi Arabia, Iran, Canada and Iraq. Crude oil producers, US is number 1, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Canada, China. Crude oil exporters, number 1 is Saudi Arabia, then Russia, then Canada, US, UAE. देखो, reserve, producer, exporter, everything will change. So cram it accordingly. Crude oil importers, China is number 1, then European Union, US, India is at 4th number, and Japan is at 5th number. India imports 85% of oil needs. Sources are Russia, Saudi, Iraq, UAE, US. Grades are light, medium, heavy, sweet and sour. Most valuable light sweet, least heavy sour. Benchmark are Brent and West Texas Instrument, and the Dubai crude, Russia, Urals, Venezuelan oil. So all of this are there. गोल्ड प्रोड्यूसर में देखें तो चाइना नंबर 1, रशिया नंबर 2, ऑस्ट्रेलिया नंबर 3, कनाडा नंबर 4, यूएस नंबर 5. गोल्ड एक्सपोर्टर स्विट्जरलैंड नंबर 1, यूके, देन एचके, देन यूएई, हांगकांग, यूएस, स्विट्जरलैंड मेजर ग्लोबल रिफाइनेंसिंग हब. ग्लोबल इंपोर्टर्स में स्विट्जरलैंड, चाइना, यूके, यूएई. गोल्ड कंज्यूमर्स में चाइना, देन इंडिया. देख रहे हो, यहाँ कहीं नहीं है बट कंज्यूमर्स में इट इज. दैट्स व्हाई इट क्रिएट्स ना destabilization in economy. Indian gold scheme we already read it previously. देख लेते हैं इंटरनेशनल इकोनॉमिक इंस्टीट्यूशन. द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इज IMF, established in 1944. Washington DC, 191 member countries. Main aim is to track currency rates and provide monetary assistance. India is a founding member. 13th largest quota holder, 2.7%, helped India in 1991 crisis. Then we have World Bank, formed in 1944. Washington DC lends to middle income countries, part of World Bank group. Then we have IDA. What is IDA? What is IFC? Okay. These are very, very important. It is also established in the Washington DC, and it is part of World Bank Group, International Development Association. IFC is International Finance Corporation. Okay. Then International Bank for Reconstruction and Development is the original arm of the World Bank. These are the terms which you need to know. MIGA is also part of the World Bank Group. It enables investment in developing countries. These all things you need to know a bit. Don't go too deep into it. Then we also have ICSID. Okay, this has been established in 1966 in Washington DC. It was created by Washington Convention. It is the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. अब इतना लंबा नाम याद नहीं करना, बस you just remember it like this. India is not part of this. This is something which you need to remember. What will be important? I will emphasize more. WTO 1995, very important. Geneva, Switzerland. Only organization dealing with international trade rules replaced GATT, जो पहले था Marcus Agreement 1995. It is highest body, ministerial conference in every 2 years. Then you have New Development Bank under BRICS. Okay, BRICS now is trying to create alternatives because too much of US dollar dependency is there. This is not good for us. New Development Bank is a multilateral development bank institution established by whom? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Unlike the World Bank, where voting power depends on capital share, the NDB was founded on the principle of equal voting rights. Okay. As of 2026, अगर देखें तो NDB has expanded significantly beyond its 5 original founders to a total of 11 member countries. अब expanded members में Bangladesh, UAE, Egypt, Algeria has also joined. The latest addition is Colombia and Uzbekistan. Okay. फिर एक और भी है ब्रिक्स प्लस पॉलिटिकल ग्रुप. इट हैज 11 full members including Iran, Ethiopia and Saudi Arabia. Membership in the New Development Bank is a separate process. वो अलग चीज है. ठीक है. ब्रिक्स प्लस is a political group. New Development Bank is a different thing altogether. Okay. AIIB. Now this has been asked by UPSC in a previous year question as well. Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and Asian Development Banks. These two are very, very important for the examination. Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. 2015, established in Beijing, China, headquartered in Beijing, China, focuses on Asia's infrastructure. Also loans beyond Asia. Beyond Asia भी loans. Pre-का statement here. China is largest shareholder, India is second largest. Then we have Asian Development Bank, established in 1966. Mandalayung Metro, Manila, Philippines में headquarter is there. Japan has highest, USA second, China third, India fourth. Focuses on infrastructure, health and climate focus. You also want economic outlook. IMF publishes this. Global Financial Stability Report is also published by IMF. Fiscal Monitor is also published by IMF. ठीक है. 5-year plans में फटाफट. First 5-year plan 1951 to 56 Harrod-Amar model. Focus was on agriculture, food, full self-sufficiency, and 5 IITs were established. Second आया 1956 to 61 PC Mahalanobis model. Heavy industry पे focus, socialist pattern. 5 steel mills were established in Bhilai, Durgapur, Raurkela, etc. Hydroelectric plants पे focus था. Dams को temples बोला था. In the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Third, 1961 to 66, Gadgil Yojana, self-reliant economy. 2 wars had happened, China 1962, Pakistan 1965. Panchayat election first time, target 5.6%, actual was 2.8%. Then plan holiday, 66 to 69. Annual plans, focus was on green revolution. Agriculture productivity boosted. Fourth 5-year plan, 1969 to 74. Growth with stability was the focus. Self-reliance was the focus. And Mrs. Indira Gandhi gave the slogan of Garibi Hatao. 14 banks were nationalized. Bangladesh liberation was done in 1971. Target was 5.7%, actual was 3.3%. Fifth 5-year plan, 1974 to 79. DP Dhar plan, poverty removal, self-reliance. First national highway system was built, target was 4.4%, actual was 4.8%. Because of all this sluggish growth, it was called by some critics as the Hindu rate of growth, which is heavily criticized, this term itself. Sixth 5-year plan, 1980 to 1985, poverty eradication, technological self-reliance. India introduced family planning for the first time, target was 5.2%, actual was more than that, 5.7%. The time of Rajiv Gandhi, self-sufficient economy, employment generation. Schemes like Jawahar Rojgar Yojana came, private sector priority, over public sector. First time target 5%, actual was 6%. Then after post LPG reforms, 1992 to 97, focus was on human resource development, new economic policy. Target say we started breaching it. 5.62 target and actual was 6.8%. Then ninth 5-year plan, 1997 say 2002, growth with justice and equity. Launched in 50th year of independence, target was 6.5%, actual was less than that. Then 2002 to 2007, double per capita income in 10 years, target was 8%, actual was 7.6%. This is perhaps one of the highest growing times. The Prime Minister time of early era of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji and Dr. Manmohan Singh ji. 2007 to 2012, faster and more inclusive growth, C. Rangarajan Committee. Target was 9%, actual 8%. And 2012 to 17, faster, more inclusive and sustainable growth. Sustainable, what is added here? Inclusive, what is added here? Remember, 11th and 12th. 25 monitorable targets, target was 8%, actual was 7%. एलपीजी रिफॉर्म्स आया था, बीओपी क्राइसिस हैड हैपेंड, लिबरलाइजेशन हुआ, लाइसेंस राज को रिमूव किया, लेस स्ट्रिंजेंट गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी, focus was on privatization. Government was making radios, bicycles. People had money, but still were waiting for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Still having money, it was leading to sluggish growth in the economy, and that is why this was done. So, removing mandatory convertible clauses, import tariffs come kiye gaye, market deregulation, reducing taxations and restriction of foreign investment come kiya gaya, and all of this was done. The impact was rise of service sector in India and IT, BPO, KPO, boom. Rise in middle class in terms of social implication, women, working women, rise in that. Rise in IT cities and IT hubs like Hyderabad, Pune, Bangalore, Greater Noida, Gurgaon, all of these places. FDI bada, job creation, but negative implication be extraction of natural resources, etc. Fin Niti Aayog was formed in 2015. So previously we had Planning Commission based on USSR. So it had advisory plus executive role as well. It was allocating fund. But yeah, only advisory. Think tank cannot allocate funds. It had authority to allocate plan funds, no role in fund allocation. Okay. So it could impose policies, it cannot enforce, only recommend. State's role was passive. Now here the state has active role. That is why it is said that it is based on cooperative and competitive federalism. Competitive because indices are also released for competitive federalism. Part-time members not allowed, allowed for expertise. Chairman is PM ex officio. Here also PM. Hubs, kuch nahi tha idhar. Idhar we have Team India Hub, engages states with center, knowledge and innovation hub, think tank capabilities. Nature of body, executive body, both had same nature. Executive body, both are executive bodies. This is what you need to know. Poverty and unemployment, absolute means percentage of people below minimum consumption requirement. Which consumption requirement will be kept? Below that, we will count the heads. This is called as head count ratio. Relative poverty is comparison of inequality. Oxfam report ho gaya, Gini coefficient ho gaya. Poverty line in India is based on consumption expenditure, not income, handled by Niti Aayog via NSO data. Dadabhai Naoroji was the first one जिन्होंने poverty line estimate he had done through the book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Different committees have come for poverty estimation like VM Dandekar and N. Rath Committee 1971. Calorie method was used 2,250 calories per day. Same for both rural and urban. How it can be possible? That's why it was refined later on. Lakadwala Committee 1993 state specific poverty lines and calorie. Urban ka alag kiya 2100 calorie per day. 100 calorie per day. State specific lines were also drawn. Then we have Tendulkar Committee 2009 mixed reference period. This is something which new formula had come. Moved away from calorie, used broader consumption like rupees 456 rural, rupees 578 urban per capita per month. Then Rangarajan Committee 2014 calorie plus protein plus fat method. Rejected Tendulkar, higher poverty line. Okay. This is what they did. Now, Niti Aayog multidimensional poverty index, which measures deprivation across 3 dimensions and 12 indicators, 3 dimensional health, education and living standards. यहाँ पे कभी भी income is something which, wealth is not something which they count. So UPSC, if they are including wealth, it will be wrong. Remember this. हेड अकाउंट रेशियो आप देखते जाइए. वी हैव लेफ्ट 24.82 करोड़ पीपल from 2013 14 to 2022 23, a very big achievement. Extreme poverty has been absolutely made zero in states like Kerala. Highest poverty rate is in Bihar, then Jharkhand, then Meghalaya. Sharpest decline is in Uttar Pradesh, followed by Bihar. They have highest, but their decline is also sharpest, so they are in a positive line. Up there are different data collection method. One is uniform reference period. So consumption expenditure surveyed for 30-day recall interval. Mixed reference period, low frequency goods के लिए use होता है. Like clothing, footwear. Clothing you are not buying every day. Na? Footwear you are not buying every day. Na? Durables you are not buying every day. Na? Education health expenditure also doesn't happen every day. So surveyed over 1 year, other items over 30 days. Amartya Sen gave capability approach. He said that freedom to achieve well-being. Now I have so much of capability, so much of talent, but I will realize my capability only when my health is good, when I am provided education. When the government fails to provide me health and education, then how I will become capable? So this approach was given by Professor Amartya Sen, and he's a Nobel laureate, a genius. Then universal basic income, that is regular cash transfer to all citizens irrespective of financial condition. Unemployment can be also classified into various types. Open unemployment, person unable to find any job, large section of labor force without work. Disguised unemployment क्या होता है? 10 people needed for factory, 50 are doing it. So 40 are so not producing any kind of output. In agriculture, this is happening. These are disguised unemployed. Seasonal unemployment occurs in specific season, like construction workers during monsoon, agriculture laborers after harvest. Cyclical unemployment during downswings in business cycle in capitalist economies, up down happens. So with this, the unemployment which causes cyclical unemployment. Then structural unemployment due to drastic changes in economic structure, like LPG reforms leads to growth of services displacing traditional industry workers. Structural AI से भी हो रहा unemployment. Technological maybe you can put it, it will be better in technological unemployment. Structural also in terms of ना gig economy का rise. तो ये भी technology driven ही है. Maybe after no COVID, digital spaces create हुए, and that can be said as structural. Okay. Technological will be more specific for AI. Frictional employment during transition from one sector to another, one job to another. Educated unemployment, qualified persons, people preparing for civil service, they can get jobs, but they are deliberately doing it because they have higher qualification. Now in Kerala also, no, people are suffering from one issue, that is underemployment. People in Kerala are highly graduate, high number of people are postgraduate. But in Kerala, because of lack of capitalism, they do not have that much of opportunity. Now, this causes underemployment because the ratio of people who are educated in Kerala is extremely high. There are jokes as well that you can see monkeys also reading newspaper in Kerala. And there were some photos also that were taken up, I think in Kannur or whatever. Casual unemployment, short term due to temporary changes or short breaks, and chronic is prolonged. देखो देर आर सम लेबर मार्केट टर्म्स एज वेल. लेबर फोर्स जो करंटली वर्क कर रहे हैं एक्टिवली सीकिंग वर्क, जनरली एजेस बिटवीन 15 to 59 years. Workforce are part of labor force who are actually employed. Then we calculate some ratios as well, like a labor force participation rate. So labor force divided by working age population into 100. Unemployment rate is unemployed divided by labor force into 100. Workers population ratio employed divided by total population into 100. अब इसमें भी usual status is that counts those with no gainful employment in the last 1 year. Weekly status counts those with no work even for 1 hour in preceding week. Daily status approach counts those with no work for at least 1 hour on a given day. Yeah. Agriculture fertilizer में NPK ratio deteriorating. N is urea, P is diammonium phosphate, K is muriate of potash. अब India is highly import dependent. Urea 20% imported, DAP 60% imported, and MOP 100% imported. This is the condition of our agriculture. Urea subsidy, statutory price control, government fixes the MRP, government pays the difference. Subsidy under Department of Fertilizer. Nutrient-based subsidy, fixed subsidy per kg of nutrient, manufacturers set MRP at market rate. Urea is completely excluded from the nutrient-based subsidy. अब soil health card भी है, soil की analysis करो on 12 parameters, and then you can now do targeted subsidy ka utilization. Otherwise, what happens? It becomes urea centric. Then we have PM Pranam, incentive mechanism to reduce fertilizer subsidy burden and promote the sustainable farming. अब क्रॉप डेटा देख लें. राइस, इंडिया इज लार्जेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर, ओवरटुक चाइना इन जनवरी 2026. लार्जेस्ट एक्सपोर्टर 30% ग्लोबल प्रोड्यूस. चाइना इज लार्जेस्ट कंज्यूमर. टॉप स्टेट्स में यूपी नंबर 1. ओके, we have Telangana and West Bengal also in the ranking. PM Matsya Sampada Yojana for fisheries. These all things you need to know. Then we have wheat. Largest producer is China. Okay, largest producer is China. Then we have India. Then we have Russia. Then we have USA. Australia, largest exporter is Russia. Then Australia. Then Canada. Then if you see in terms of states, UP again top. Rice और wheat दोनों में कौन top? UP. MP is on second number in wheat and Punjab. You can guess it. No, north में people eat more rotis. So all threes are in. Two are specifically north. MP you can categorize as center. Okay. Here you can see West Bengal though have such a condition. Naturally, a lot of ponds, etc. and water availability is such that rainfall also, humid condition. So rice can be easily cultivated. So just say West Bengal. Yes, you can easily guess Telangana also. You will see Andhra, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, they eat. And we have different varieties of rice as well, like black rice, different kinds of rice. In Kuttanad, there is a different variety of rice. Pulses, it grows in both Rabi and Kharif season. Grams or chickpeas are most dominant. That are 40% of pulses. Top producer is MP is number 1, Maharashtra is number 2, Rajasthan, UP, Karnataka. India is largest producer, consumer, and importer. India is largest producer, consumer, importer. We have high chunk of vegetarians, and for vegetarians, pulses are a huge component of our protein. Okay, I am also a vegetarian, so I can understand it. Canada is the largest exporter. Mission for Atmanirbhar in pulses budget में they targeted self-sufficiency by 2027 and they targeted the 3 big pulses specifically, and this was asked in the CDS examination as well. Okay. Vegetable oil, largest import bill in agriculture commodity comes from it. बहुत ज़्यादा we fry and everything. India is the largest importer of palm oil. Palm oil is banned in majority of the countries, but if you see, you eat chips, you eat many of the biscuits, chocolates, ice creams. These are filled with palm oils. Indonesia is largest exporter of palm oil. Sugar, largest producer is Brazil, then India. Largest exporter is again Brazil, then Thailand, then India. Tea में producer सबसे बड़ा China, then India, then Kenya. Exporter में again China is number 1, then India, then Kenya, then Sri Lanka. Tea board under Ministry of Commerce is an important prelims facts. Coffee में 2 species mainly, Arabica and Robusta. Baba Budangiri Hills, you must be remembering it is in Karnataka. Karnataka is a leading producer in terms of coffee. Okay. In India, Karnataka produces 70% of India's coffee. Coffee board is a statutory body under Coffee Act 1942. Ministry of Commerce के अंडर आता है. Cotton, India is the largest cotton producing country. US is the largest exporter. It needs 210 plus frost-free days. Top states are Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Telangana. Black soil में ना cotton grows well, which is also called as a regur soil. Basalt से बना था black soil. Okay, these all things you must be knowing. Silk. Again, Karnataka is one of the leading producers. Now you must have heard that Silk board is in Bangalore. In terms of producer, China is number 1. India is number 2. Variety is mulberry. 90% of India's silk is mulberry. Then Tassar, then Eri. Then Muga. Silk board is under Ministry of Textile. Jute. India number one है, Bangladesh number two. Exporter Bangladesh number one, India number two. It is very good eco-friendly packaging material. Jute Packaging Material Act 1987 mandates 100% food grains, 20% sugar in jute bags. Jute board comes under Ministry of Textile. Rubber, it is native to South America. Kerala, 90% of India's rubber comes from here because it requires tropical climate. 200 to 450 centimeter of rainfall. Rubber board is under Ministry of Commerce. Spices, India is world's largest producer, no doubt about it. Consumer भी, exporter भी. Chili, cumin, turmeric, ginger, coriander, 76% of production. Top states, it has to be states like MP, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka. There is a Idukki district in Kerala, which is called a spice capital. Okay. Makana mostly grown in places like Bihar. It also requires waterlogging conditions. Specifically in Mithila, it is grown in huge number. Very, very good for calcium. India is producing 90% of world's makana. India's production Bihar se aata hai, and 90% of world's export comes from India. GI tag Mithila Makana 2022. Makana board announced budget also in 2025-26. Tobacco is native to South America, introduced in India by Portuguese. Largest producer China, then India. Indian states में Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh are top. Tobacco board, Ministry of Commerce. Opium, India only country legally producing opium gum. Signatory to UN Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs 1961, governed by NDPS Act 1985. Licensing by Central Bureau of Narcotics. ठीक है. Potato, largest producer कौन है? China. Then India, native to South America, not again to India. International Potato Center, South Asia Regional Center at Agra, Uttar Pradesh. Fisheries, India is third largest fish producing country. Inland is more than marine production. Largest state, Andhra Pradesh, they produces the fish. We have PM Matsya Sampada Yojana. Agriculture scheme this year, PM Fasal Bima Yojana is very important, launched in 2016. It is a central sector scheme. Okay. And Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, not Fisheries. Voluntary for all farmers since 2020. Voluntary, not mandatory. Premium Kharif 2%, Rabi 1.5%. Commercial and horticulture 5%, covers pre-sowing, harvest, post-harvest losses. Winds, weather stations for real-time claim assessments. The Digital Agriculture Mission was improved, and umbrella scheme for digital public infrastructure in agriculture. 3 components: AgriStack, Kisan Ki Pehchan, Farmer Registry, Village Maps, Crop Shown Registry, Krishi DSS Geospatial System, Soil Profile Mapping. PM Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana announced in budget 2025-26. Okay. 1.7 crore farmers inspired by aspirational district. 36 existing central sector schemes across 11 ministries. Then Mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses that we had already seen. Soil health card also we have seen. Spice scheme by Spices Board, Ministry of Commerce, enhances spice export, productive cardamom and post-harvest quality. This is important. Production linked incentive scheme launched in 2020. Initially 3 sector, now expanded to 14 sector. DPIIT is the nodal agency under Ministry of Commerce. Incentive on incremental sale above base year incentive rate is 4 to 6%. Sector specific duration is 5 years. Eligible are Indian companies or foreign companies both. CDS may it has come this year. Registered and manufacturing in India. PYQs maybe it has come. 14 PLI sector, Ratta Marle. Large scale electronics, mobiles, IT hardware, bulk drugs and APIs, medical devices, pharmaceuticals, telecom and networking, white goods, specifically specialty steel, textiles, food processing, solar PV modules, ACC batteries, automobile and auto components, drones. PLI has been successful. Investment realized is 2 lakh crores. Production rupees 18 lakh crore. Employment 12 lakh jobs. Export under PLI rupees 8 lakh crore. MSP classification already asked in PYQ. Investment micro tab hoga when investment is up to 2.5 crores and turnover rupees 10 crores. Small up to 25 crore, turnover up to 100 crore. Medium up to 125 crore, turnover up to 500 crores. This is 4 time actually. Investment and turnovers are 4 time. Okay, 2.5 into 4, 10. 25 into 4, 100. 125 into 4, 500. This I am telling just to remember. And many schemes have been launched, like Growth Fund and Corporate Mitras and other schemes. So textile, India is second largest textile manufacturing capacity after China, sixth largest textile exporter, second largest employment generator after agriculture, specifically in places like Tirupuri in Tamil Nadu. It creates a lot of employment. PM Mitra scheme under Ministry of Textile. It wants to establish large scale textile manufacturing hubs. Vision is 5F. फार्म से फाइबर, फाइबर से फैक्ट्री, फैक्ट्री से फैशन, फैशन से फॉरेन. ओके. 7 मित्रा साइट्स तमिलनाडु, विरुद्धनगर तेलंगाना में वारंगल, गुजरात नवसारी, कर्नाटका कालबुर्गी, मध्य प्रदेश धर, उत्तर प्रदेश लखनऊ एंड महाराष्ट्र में अमरावती. Mining and minerals, there are constitutional provisions. Entry 54 union list, regulation of mines and minerals. Development, entry 23 state list, regulation subject to entry 4. Parliament enacted MMDR Act 1957 under entry 54. Mine and minerals are defined in section 3E MMDR Act. Sand, gravel, brick earth, maram, marble, sandstone. State government grants lease and sets royalty rates for minor minerals. Major minerals, everything not declared minor is major. Part A are hydrocarbons, Part B are atomic minerals, Part C are metallic and non-metallic. Part D are 24 critical and strategic minerals added in 2023. Critical minerals, central government has exclusive authority to auction mining leases, no right to state government. District Mineral Foundation for Welfare Affected Communities Mining Areas and MMDR amendment happened in 2025. It renamed the National Mineral Exploration and Development Trust. Added a development as well. Okay. Earlier there was no development one. Mineral Exchange introduced 50% surplus cap on captive mines. Removed leaseholders can add minerals to existing leases. Data देखें अगर minerals का coal largest reserves is in USA, then Russia, then Australia, China, India. Largest producer is China, then India, then US. Then quality of coal is something which is to ponder for India. Exporters, Indonesia number 1, Australia, Russia. Importer में China and India. Why so? Because of quality of coal. There are 4 types: anthracite, bituminous, peat and lignite. इंडिया में सबसे बड़ा producer reserve is in Jharkhand, then Chhattisgarh, then Odisha, then West Bengal, then Madhya Pradesh, then Telangana. Jharkhand has numerous coal reserves. Crude oil में we have already seen. Okay. Natural gas reserves, Russia number 1, Iran, Qatar, producer में US, Russia, then Iran, exporter में US, then Qatar, then Australia, importer में China, EU, Japan, India. Okay. Iron ore, largest reserve is in Australia, then Brazil, then Russia, then China. Largest steel producer, China, then India. Second number, Japan, iron ores. Iron ores कैसे कौन से होते हैं? Hematite, magnetite, limonite, siderite. Again, here also, the quality of iron. Indian states में Odisha is number 1, then Jharkhand, then Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, then Goa. Aluminium, largest reserves is in Guinea, then Australia, then Vietnam, then Indonesia. Ores are bauxite, cryolite, corundum. Indian state में Odisha number 1, then Andhra Pradesh, then Jharkhand, then Maharashtra, then Chhattisgarh, then Madhya Pradesh. Copper, largest reserve is in Chile, then Peru, then Australia, then Russia, then Democratic Republic of Congo. Ores we have chalcopyrite, malachite, and cuprite. Then we have Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board. It regulates downstreaming, refining, storage, distribution, marketing, and does not regulate upstreaming, that is exploration and production. Appeals to appellate tribunal under Electricity Act 2003. ये Electricity Act है ना, this is important. Insurance penetration क्या होता है? Ratio of total insurance premium to GDP. Measures importance of insurance sector. And density is ratio of total insurance premium to population. Then FDI in insurance 100% allowed. Okay. अब इंडिया के एक्सटर्नल डेट को इफ वी एनालाइज, एक्सटर्नल डेट टू जीडीपी इज समथिंग विच यू हैव टू सी. नॉन गवर्नमेंट डेट, government debt long term is more than short term. Largest component non-financial corporations. Okay. Internal debt is more than external debt. By denomination, if you see, highest is US dollar, फिर Indian national rupees, then yen, then SDR, then euro. Eighth pay commission also came, temporary executive body, cabinet decision under Ministry of Finance, Department of Expenditure, reviews pays, allowance, pension of central government employees, dissolved after submitting the report. और भी है terms like amortization, repayment of loan in regular installment is called as amortization, and you get amortization का पूरा schedule. Arbitrage, that is profit from price difference of the same product in different markets. यहाँ से खरीदा सस्ता है, महंगे में we sold it. Cheaper to expensive. Autarky, that is economic independence or self-sufficiency, no trade with outside world. Bracket creep, that is fiscal drag. Inflation pushes taxpayer into higher tax bracket. Yes, so we had a study, Cantillon effect, and majority of this thing. Dutch disease, resource boom. So see Jharkhand, resource boom, and it causes currency appreciation, which makes other export non-competitive. Dutch disease bolte hain. Yeah, too much dependency on creates on these minerals, etc. Other sectors remains under development. That's why you will see in India also now, states where high amount of natural resources are there now the development of infrastructure, etc., has become sluggish. Angel laws, as income rises, proportion spent on food falls through, though absolute spending may rise. ठीक है, मतलब income rises, proportion spent on food will fall. 100 rupees if you are earning, and now you are earning 1000. So proportion of your total expenditure will now decrease on food compared to other items. होता है ना, you will go for iPhone, BMW and whatnot. Fisher effect. That is nominal interest rate and inflation are directly related. Nominal rate equal to real rate plus expected inflation. ठीक है, रियल रेट में इन्फ्लेशन ऐड कर दोगे तो नॉमिनल रेट आ जाएगा. Fringe benefit tax, tax on non-cash perks given to employees, abolished in India. Giffen goods are those goods where demand increases as price rises. ठीक है, so demand will increase as the prices will rise. Inferior staple goods like coarse rice, it violates the law of demand. Giffen good जो होता है, this violates the law of demand. Okay. We also have incremental capital output ratio. Units of capital needed to produce one additional unit of output inversely proportional to technological advancement. हमने capital output ratio we have seen ना, it is related to that only. Okay. I just given everything at once so that you can revise. एक और thing I want to explain very briefly because it was asked by UPSC once. This term is called as opportunity cost. तो एक value of the अब if you are foregoing anything, तो एक cost attach होता है ना इसका. If you are foregoing anything, there is a cost attached to it. It is a next best alternative that you give up when you make a choice. Okay. So it is a kind of a hidden cost. If you say, for example, if you spend rupees 500 on a movie ticket, the opportunity cost is not the money itself, but what else you could have bought with it. Maybe 2 books or a meal. For example, for a farmer in Idukki, if a farmer decides to grow cardamom, The opportunity cost is the profit they could have made by growing black pepper on the same acre of land. For a student, you understand, if you spend 2 hours studying economics, the opportunity cost is the sleep or the Netflix show you missed during those 2 hours, or you could have gone outside. So this is called as opportunity cost. Now everything has been virtually covered. Everything. You see now, so many current affairs, budgets, economic survey data, all the sectors, everything I have covered as fast as possible. Now, what I expect from you is subscribe to the YouTube channel, support us. We are working tirelessly. We are not any big companies with lots of investment on advertisement and have 100, 200 people team and earning crores of turnover. This organization is opened by an aspirant turned mentor who gave 3 CSE interviews, saw all the hardships like you people by these so-called big institutes, and then decided that he will bring something which will make a difference, will provide things at most affordable cost or free, and give his best. These notes will be posted in Karmayogi IS Telegram channel, and I will try to post a practice test as well. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.